Welcome to August. It's real now. Trade deadline is in 24 hours or so, depending on when you're listening to this. Brewers are off today. The next time you see them, it could be a little bit different. Let's get ready for the trade deadline tomorrow. Let's recap the weekend. Brewers win a series over the Red Sox at Fenway. A lot of good stuff, a lot of positives from this weekend. Don't go away. You're locked on.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, happy Monday. Thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen of the day. It is August, it is crunch time. Baseball season is about to get real. The trade deadline is tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central Time. Things could look very different, and the Brewers are certainly players. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. We're going to talk about the weekend that was. We also just got some overall numbers to gush at and enjoy. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. This is your only daily podcast dedicated to the Brewers all season long. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can buy any car you want entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to the dealership again. So the next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to Vroom, VROOM.com, and check out thousands of great cars. Brewers take 2 of 3 at Fenway Park, a ballpark they haven't been in since 2014. They lose a game in Fenway for the first time since 2011 because, remember, they swept that series in 2014 as well. A lot of positives. I know you're mad about yesterday's game. We're going to talk about it. We got 3 bullet points and on each of these games that we're going to touch on. We got some overall notes and overall vibes to talk about from this series and some second half stuff that's going on right now. And we've also got trade rumors. We've got injury updates. And, I mean, there's a lot of places we can go. But let's start with maybe the most important thing now that we are into August, standings updates. These are going to become a little more regular as we look around all of baseball here. Let's start, of course, here in the Central. Brewers, 3 games up still on the Cardinals. They started the weekend 3 games up. They exit the weekend 3 games up. Remember, the Cardinals were playing the Nationals, tanking Nationals in the midst of Soto rumors and Josh Bell rumors. Brewers are totally fine with staying 3 games up on the Cardinals. In the East, the Mets are still hanging on. They're 3 games up on the Braves right now. And in the West, it's all Dodgers. They're 12 games up on the Padres, who are currently 5.5 up on San Francisco for 3rd place. Over in the American League, Yankees running away with the East, of course. Blue Jays are 11.5 up in 2nd place. Minnesota, a slim lead in the Central. They're 1 game up on Cleveland, and Chicago's not going anywhere. The White Sox are 2 games back. And then in the West, it is all about Houston. They just took a series from the Mariners. The Mariners are in 2nd. They are 12 games back. Quick wild card look for the update right now. Remember, 3 teams in each league. In the National League, wild card right now has Atlanta, 6.5 games clear in the 1st spot. San Diego, 1.5 game clear. They're in the 2nd spot. And currently, Philadelphia is the last team in the National League, 1 game up on the Cardinals. And something important to note here, we've talked about the tiebreaker meaning so much for the Brewers head-to-head with the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost their tiebreaker to the Phillies. The Phillies won the season series 4 games out of 7. So that means if they end up finished with the identical record at the end of the season, the Phillies would get the last spot into the playoffs, assuming the Brewers win the Central. Keep that in mind. The Phillies have already taken the tiebreaker from the Cardinals. So in theory, the Cardinals are really 2 games back of the Phillies for that second wild card spot and 3 games back of the Brewers for the Central. In the American League, Toronto leads for the 1st spot by 3 games. Seattle is up by a half game for the 2nd spot. And the 3rd spot currently goes to Tampa Bay with Cleveland 1.5 out of a spot. Chicago's actually closer in their division than they are in the wild card. And Baltimore still lurking. They're 3 games back, and Boston is 3.5 back. We're going to have standings updates periodically every week now that we're into August. And remember, I mean, it's real. It's going to happen really fast. The season is going to be over before you know it. The Brewers are 57-45 in 1st place in the National League Central. They are currently 7 games back of the 2nd seed in the National League. And that's a long way to make up against the New York Mets, who are getting Jacob deGrom back tomorrow. The Brewers still took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. And before you start spitting negativity at me, before you see all your friends and all these, dumb Twitter accounts sometimes are just saying, oh, well, it's Yeah, they're off to a 7-2 start in the second half, but they beat the Rockies and they beat the Red Sox. I mean, they're not that good of teams, are they? Well, if they had lost those games, those would be the same people the first to bash them. You can't if you beat them, they don't care. They say, "Oh, they're not a good enough team." But if you lose to them, they laugh at you no matter what. Shun those haters away, man. You're 7-2 in the second half. That's good. That's really freaking good, especially given how the buildup was to that All-Star break, how abysmal June was for the Brewers. Things are certainly trending up. I've mentioned this before. The Brewers are finally healthy. I've tweeted this before, too. The main core is healthy right now. The 5 guys that I tweeted back in June that were missing, Hunter Renfroe, Andrew McCutchen, Willy Adames, Colton Wong, and Luis Urias. Those 5 guys that the Brewers expected to be having everyday type of at-bats coming into this season. They have played together for a total of 20 games. 20 games out of 102 games so far this year. And the Brewers are 13-7 in the games that all 5 of them are active with the rest of the crew. They're getting healthier too. Let's jump into the injury report here quickly. Freddie Peralta is coming back this week. He's not going to be pumping 7 shutout innings as soon as he comes off the injured list. But the Brewers say his next outing will be in the big leagues. Will that be this week against Pittsburgh starting tomorrow? Will that be the next vacant spot in the rotation on Saturday against the Reds? That has not been made clear yet. The Brewers have Corbin Burns starting tomorrow, so there's going to be length there. They're going to have Brandon Woodruff start on Wednesday, so there's length there. And then you would expect Eric Lauer to get the start on Thursday with the length there too, but maybe Freddie Peralta is the first man out of the bullpen, or maybe they plan on a tandem day. There are things that you can do with Freddie Peralta. He threw 52 pitches, getting up and down 4 times in his last rehab outing against with the Nashville Sounds. By up-downs, we talk about it in spring training, right? Starting pitchers getting ready, get loose, getting into the game, sit down, wait, get back up. That's one up down. So he did 4 up downs. He pitched into the 4th inning in that rehab start before they hit his desired pitch total. Maybe his next total is 75. Maybe his next total is only 60. It remains to be seen what they want out of Freddie. But there's a really important caveat to remember with Freddie Peralta, and maybe this is why it's open-ended on when he's going to return. He is not on the 40-man right now. He's on the 60-day injured list. So when the Brewers do decide to activate him, the 40-man is currently full. There will have to be a roster move made, and there's not really anybody that would be eligible to go to the 60-day DL right now, or IL right now, given Hauser's about to be right back here. And Justin Topa's on an assignment. He's still on the 60-day. And Jake Cousins is on his way back too. So this is where you look at the reason why the Brewers have held off on announcing when it's going to be is because it's probably going to be after the deadline when Freddie finally makes his return. Because that's when you're looking at maybe this is the end for Pedro Severino. Maybe somebody finally calls and says, we need a catcher. We're ready to take Severino, even though he's not going to be for the postseason for us. Maybe Cleveland could be a candidate for that to just fill in. Maybe it's somebody like the Mets who just want another bat in the order and understanding that he won't be available for the postseason. But if nobody takes Pedro Severino in a trade by tomorrow, I don't see the Brewers keeping him. I don't see a reason to keep him. So that could be a spot where Freddie slides in on his 40-man roster spot. So just keep that in mind. There is another move pending when Freddie does get activated, not only activating him from the injured list and putting him on the 26-man active roster, another guy has to come off of the 40-man roster as well. Keep that in mind. Jake Cousins and Justin Topa, as previously mentioned, are currently on minor league rehab assignments right now. Both of them are on the 60-day IL, which means they would have to be added to the 40-man roster too. And this is what I've been saying for a little while now. Adrian Hauser's also throwing bullpens too. He's still on the 15-day IL, so he's still on the 40-man. There's no worries in that regard. But this is what I've been saying for a long time now. I don't think the Brewers are going to make a major splash or even add much tomorrow. I'm afraid of them making a move for the sake of making a move. Is there a guarantee that that player is going to make them better? No. Is it worth throwing it on the wall and seeing if it sticks? Maybe, but with the current roster crunch, I don't see the Brewers doing it because they have reinforcements naturally coming. Freddie being the headliner of it. Jake Cousins will certainly help some innings. Imagine this bullpen, and this is another tough decision that's going to happen when Freddie and Hauser returns. The Brewers go to a 6-man rotation again, which means they'll only have 7 men available in their bullpen. And the 7-man bullpen is going to get really crowded. Let's think about the guaranteed names, right? The Hader, the Williams, Boxberger, Gott, Milner. Those are 5 guaranteed names in this bullpen. Suter, well, then that means you only got room for Cousins, and Topa has to stay out. Or do you have to rearrange things with Trevor Gott? Do you have to rearrange things to keep Jake Cousins in the order? There's a big decision to keep Jake McGee. There's a big decision looming in the bullpen as well when those guys are returning too. So will it be a 6-man rotation, and how much bullpen help, and how soon will it arrive for the Brewers? That's our trade deadline primer. We have more trade rumors coming up in the third segment. Next, we're going to talk about the series that was in Boston. We got 3 bullet points on each game and some overall numbers to get to. Before we get there, as you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people that you actually want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a job. It only takes minutes on LinkedIn, and you can reach the world's largest professional network. Over 810 million people use LinkedIn, including yours truly. Then add your job with the purple hashtag hiring frame and your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. And that way, your network can help you find the right people that you want to hire faster. The simple tools like the screening questions and the aforementioned banner, you can find the right candidates and prioritize who you want to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Did you know nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn every single week? You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. Look, they lose yesterday. I get it. You wanted the sweep. It's gravy day, as Bill Schroeder says. You took the series. You did your job. They had a lead for a little bit. Then things just kind of snowballed in that 5th inning, to use a cliche. Let's go back to Game 1, Friday night, last time that we spoke on this podcast. Friday night, Brandon Woodruff. Man, he has been a man possessed since coming off the injured list. He's been incredible. He leads baseball in whiff rate since he came off the injured list. That's awesome. Over 35%. This dude kept it going against the Red Sox. 6 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run. It was earned. 2 walks and 9 strikeouts. 101 pitches. 68 of them were strikes for Big Woo. Awesome stuff from him. He keeps, every time he gets the ball, you feel like the Brewers have a chance to win. Every single time. We knew he wasn't quite himself before the injury and before being diagnosed with Raynaud's syndrome. He has clearly got it in check. The ankle hasn't been a thought at all since he initially went on the injured list with that. But he's clearly got the Raynaud's syndrome under control. Things are looking up for Big Woo. He's kind of taking the role. Now, he's a 2-time All-Star. I don't want to say that these are the same caliber player, but remember when Eric Lauer started taking off at this time last season? Brandon Woodruff is becoming that again. He's becoming All-Star Brandon Woodruff and finding his form at the right time heading into the latter portion of the season. And mind you, we are in August. There's only a handful of starts left for all of these guys. If you're going every 5th day, you're looking at maybe 8, 9 more starts the rest of the season, 10 at the most. Keep that in mind. You're running out of time here at the end of the year. Another bullet point from this game. Brewers went 3 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The key add-on runs late in that game on Friday as they won 4-1. 3 for 8. Keep the good times going with the runners in scoring position. Love to see that for the crew. Christian Yelich and Colt Wong remained hot. More on them in just a little bit, but they have been off to a great start here in the second half. And finally, the A bullpen just reminded everybody how freaking good they are. It helped that for pretty much every Red Sox in that game, for both Devin Williams and Josh Hader, it was the first time the batter had seen those arms, so the changeup was especially nasty. When I look at Devin Williams in that game on Friday, he dealt with some traffic and he fell into some hitters' counts. And this is how you know how good the airbender is. Every one of those hitters' counts, he threw a changeup. Everybody in the ballpark knew he was going to throw a changeup. The batter probably knew he was going to throw a changeup. Devin knew the batter knew he was going to throw a changeup. Alex Cora knew he was going to throw a changeup. Everyone knew he was going to throw a changeup. And he still got swings and misses on it. That's filth. It's not right. It's insane. He gets another hold, 23 holds in that game. 24th came in Game 2 on Saturday. He's been great. Bullpen so good. Hader continues to show signs that he's figured it out. All 3 of his outs were via strikeout. He did allow a hit, but that was it. Good job by Josh. Game 2, Brewers win 9-4. There was a fun anomaly note in this one. 8 batters had at least an extra base hit and a run. It was the 4th time that's happened in Brewers history, and the last time it was 2019 in that wild 19-0 game against Detroit. So 8 batters with an extra base hit and a run. The Brewers continue to hit the bats, continue to rock things here in the second half. Speaking of Eric Lauer, here's our second bullet point from that game. He continues to grind without his best. He said it after his previous start to this one against the Rockies from last Sunday, saying that it feels like there's a force field around the strike zone right now. And he's fighting through it. He doesn't have his best. He had 3 more walks in this game. He allowed another home run too, but he still gets through 5. He earns the win without his best. The zoom ball can still zoom. You would see some swings and misses on pitches that you would expect contact against. There is some late life still. It's just Lauer is having a hard time finding the zone right now. When he's on, when his command is on, Lauer can be a very good number 3 pitcher. And now with Freddie Peralta returning, that will ease some of the burden on Eric Lauer moving forward. Because since May, he's been looked to like a Freddie Peralta saying, okay, well, we're expecting you to keep things going, or we're expecting you to be a stopper, because when Freddie was on, all right, well, Freddie's coming in, he's going to stop things. Or just like you look at Corbin Burns, or just like you look at Brandon Woodruff. Lauer had to be that guy for a little while, which, yes, he was that in April, but he hasn't been that so far in the last month and a half or so. Continues to grind without his best stuff. And the third bullet point from this game, Devin Williams marking his 30th consecutive outing without allowing a run. He hasn't allowed a run. The streak started on May 15th. Man, if it wasn't for what Edwin Diaz is doing right now with the Mets, Devin Williams would be reliever of the year. And don't even start with me of saying, oh, Devin deserves it. Devin deserves reliever of the year. He could be a candidate, but please, go look at Edwin Diaz's baseball reference and tell me how he does not deserve reliever of the year. The dude's striking out 2 batters per inning. His strikeout per 9 is 18. That is not a typo. 18. Crazy. Still, Devin should be runner-up. What an incredible year he has. Now, let's play a hypothetical. What if Devin doesn't allow a run the rest of the season and the streak hits like 45, 50 games? Then do you think like, oh man, maybe he can be reliever of the year if Diaz maybe blows 2 or 3 more saves? I don't know. It's going to be a fun experiment. See how long this lasts for Devin. Great stuff from the Brewers in a 9-4 win to clinch the series, and then they're going for the sweep yesterday, Sunday. They get off to a great start. Hunter Renfroe, man, I'll have what he's having. His 6th homer in 9 games in the second half, another monster shot, and back at his own stomping grounds, Jared Carrabis pouring out for him. He was in his feels this week about the trade. Look, Jackie Bradley Jr., great dude. Really enjoy his company. It's a shame to see him has struggled as much as he has in the last couple of years with the bat. Still a great defender. Still a great dude. But, man, that trade's going to be circled for a long time. Hunter Renfroe received. Jackie Bradley Jr. sent, along with Alex Binelas and David Hamilton, a couple of prospects in the Red Sox organization. Binelas is pretty good. I'll give them that. Hamilton's got 47 steals in Double-A, mind you, but in the moment, Renfroe is really helping the Brewers win right now. Another 2-run shot, and he had a 4-hit game yesterday. It was his 4th career 4-hit game and his first with the Brew Crew. Let's talk about Aaron Ashby briefly. He's pitched well since signing the extension. Of course, he had the tough luck loss and the shutout loss against the Rockies on Monday. And then here yesterday, he was 1 pitch away from getting out of that 5th inning without any damage across him. Yes, the 5 runs were unearned, but he had a 2-2 count on Xander Bogaerts. And Xander, on the 2-1 pitch, was way late on a fastball and fouled it off down the right side. To me, I would think, oh man, that means he's sitting on changeup or he's sitting on off speed. Now, 20/20 hindsight, but it tells me that he's sitting on something later. He's sitting on something softer. And the Brewers decided to give him something softer in the changeup. You saw how out in front he was of that changeup because he knew he got it. He got a little excited. He still was out in front, and he still yanks it down the left field line for a fair ball. What we call that is speeding up the bat. What we call that is, well, if he took the same swing that he fouled off the fastball with to that changeup, he's now suddenly going to be on time, which is what you don't want to do, young catchers. If you see your batter is late on a fastball, you got to give him another elevated fastball and see if he chases it. When you change eye levels, then you can go back to the breaking stuff, but the bat was on time for the changeup, clutch double, and then things catapulted from there. 4 straight doubles, 5 runs in the inning, and the Red Sox never looked back. In the final thing, Brewers had opportunities. They were finally human. They went 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. A base-running blunder by Willy Adames with 2 outs was not great to see. 2 double plays as well with the bases loaded was not great either. That was the difference of that one. Quickly, some overall numbers. Colton Wong, mentioned him a second ago. Colton Wong is hitting .419 in the second half with an 1149 OPS. Very encouraging to see from Colton Wong after the really weird first half he's had. Christian Yelich, the toe tap. It's working. He's on a 10-game hitting streak right now. The toe tap started, though, on Tuesday, so it's not the entire hitting streak. But during this hitting streak, he's hitting .480 on-base percentage. Beg your pardon. .480 on-base percentage during this 10-game hitting streak. In the second half, he's hitting .351. Out of a leadoff hitter, that's all you ask. That is all you ask. Very excited to see what Yelly can keep doing with this toe tap. And finally, we mentioned it a second ago, Renfroe, 6 of his last 9 games. He's got a homer in it. He's got 1155 OPS in the second half. Wow. Big episode so far. Let's take a quick breather. Let's look at some trades. Let's talk about a couple other numbers real quick. Before we do that, BetOnline.net has got the actual odds and the futures up right now for who's going to make the playoffs, who's going to win the World Series, who's going to win the pennant. You can see all of that at BetOnline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check on all of your sports betting needs. From podcasts to scores to news and notes, BetOnline.net has everything to keep you covered all baseball season. And yes, training camp has begun, so football season is technically right around the corner. So you can see everything you could ever want at betonline.net, the top resource for everything sports wagering. BetOnline, where the game starts. A couple other quick numbers I didn't get to, and this is kind of an overarching theme right now here in the second half. The Brewers have the best OPS in baseball in the second half. They have the 3rd best batting average in the second half. And all of this, Willy Adames has been feast or famine. He's been cold. He's hitting .215 in the second half. He's got more strikeouts than hits in the second half. He's been in a weird funk. So it's really encouraging to see the Brewers continue to produce despite Willy having a little bit of a cold stretch here in July. But July's over. Maybe August he gets things back going in the right direction for Adames. And here's a fun nugget that I found this past weekend. So the Brewers actually led the entire weekend. They did not trail until that 5th inning yesterday at all. The Brewers have only trailed in 17 of 76 innings so far in the second half. That's at the end of the inning. That's just 22% of the innings that they have been behind at the end of the frame. That is really freaking good. They're just under half of their innings that they've ended with the lead. They are getting out in front early. They're staying ahead early. They've been coming from behind as well a couple of times. Keep that in mind as they get ready to face these Pittsburgh Pirates starting tomorrow. I really found that number to be very interesting. Okay, trade talk. Everyone's favorite season. We're 5 o'clock tomorrow Central Time. We will be live, by the way. I'm going to plan out a live show here. It will be shared on our Twitter page at Locked On Brewers and on our YouTube page. We'll be live in both places. Just trying to keep an eye on what will happen. The plan right now for me is that I'll go live at 4:30 Central Time. We'll be on until about 5:15 because there's always a few more deals that come in at the end of the waiver, and then we get you ready for baseball. 5:30 pregame coverage on Valley Sports Wisconsin, 6 o'clock first pitch from PNC Park tomorrow. So let's talk about Jon Heyman's tweets. If you don't follow Jon Heyman, he's an MLB Network insider. He does well. I call him a volume shooter, but he does know he's in it on trades. He gets a lot of stuff out. Maybe he doesn't always get it immediately the details first, but he gets the gist of it. He was one of the first on Benintendi. He'll just say simply, Benintendi to the Yankees, and then he'll go back and follow up and find out everything else. He's been pretty good about that. But he did mention something interesting. 2 things regarding the Brewers. First of all, teams are calling on Josh Hader. There is no indication the Brewers are ready to move him, but the Brewers seem to be willing to listen. Josh Hader's been involved with trade talks since feels like 2019. It's inevitable as a Brewers fan, right? You're very, very used to hearing, oh, Josh Hader's being dangled in trades. Sounds like teams are calling, understanding that maybe the Brewers are ready to have Devin Williams in the closer role given the stretch that he's on, and they can potentially buy low on Hader given the month of July that he had. I'm not buying it. The way I feel about a Josh Hader trade mid-season right now is, remember back in 2014 when the Oakland A's traded Yoenis Cespedes for John Lester, and Yoenis Cespedes was their best player? This kind of feels like it would end up like that. Not saying that, I mean, the A's obviously made the wild card game, but they ended up losing, even though John Lester was on the mound in that game against the Royals. I see that team, and I saw everything change. Now, it depends on the haul you get back, of course, for Josh Hader, but in my opinion, I would not trade Josh Hader at this deadline, because this might be your best chance to win a World Series while having one of the most dominant closers in baseball on your roster. You might as well give it a fair go with this three-headed monster of Boxberger, Williams, and Hader. I tweeted the numbers yesterday. Boxberger's third in holds, Williams is first in holds, and Hader is first in saves. That is the back end of your bullpen. You might as well keep it intact for a run heading into the postseason. That's why I don't think the Brewers are going to trade Hader. Another one that John Heyman mentioned was that the Brewers and the Yankees have touched base about Joey Gallo. I am vehemently against the trade for Joey Gallo, and here's why. Keston Hiura is sitting and ready to go in AAA. He is waiting for the trade deadline to pass and for this roster to open back up again, and with Jace Peterson on the IL, and you're carrying 3 catchers right now, Keston knows he's the next man to the bench when Severino is gone. When you look at the numbers between Gallo and Hiura, it is an absolute no-brainer to keep Hiura as opposed to acquire Joey Gallo. The only edge that Joey Gallo has on Hiura is better defense in the outfield. He's a Gold Glove caliber outfielder, and he's got a cannon for arm. So just for, hypothetical sake, let's say the Brewers somehow acquire Ramon Laureano as well, and they also acquire Joey Gallo. Imagine a defensive outfield of arms with Joey Gallo in left, Ramon Laureano in center, and Hunter Renfroe in right. Ain't nobody going to be running on those guys, but I don't think that's going to happen. Here are the numbers between Gallo and Hiura. Gallo hitting 159 this year. Hiura, 238. Gallo, 282 on base. Hiura, 354. Gallo, 339 slugging. Hiura, 451. Thus the OPS. Hiura is the advantage by 180 points, 621 to 805. Hiura does have 130 fewer plate appearances, to be fair. 273 plate appearances for Gallo, 144 plate appearances in the big leagues for Hiura. Slightly more homers for Gallo, given he has more plate appearances, 12 versus 8. The strikeouts, they're pretty close. 39% strikeout rate for Gallo, 44% strikeout rate for Hiura. That's where, in my opinion, you don't get Gallo. You've already got a big swing, big power guy in Keston Hiura. And the big thing they both have in common, they don't hit lefties. Gallo isn't going to come in and shock the world playing every day against lefties. He does have fair numbers in his career against lefties. He can hit for pop, but he doesn't get a lot of time against them. He's always got prodigious power. But Hiura hasn't really shown it against lefties this year either. We've talked about the reverse splits ad nauseum on this show. So if you're going to bring in a guy that already can't hit lefties, that's the same hitter profile as Keston Hiura, and Hiura's already a better hitter profile. In fact, Hiura's actually got a positive OPS plus and a positive weighted runs created plus despite all the strikeouts, whereas Gallo is below 100. I see that as being too much, unless it's for free. I mean, if you're going to take a flyer on the guy, so be it. But I don't see the Brewers making a trade for Joey Gallo. I don't think it's a fit, in my opinion. As far as other trades go, it sounds like things are really cooling off. And as I said at the top of the show, the Brewers have a roster crunch they're facing here coming up with Peralta coming back, with Cousins coming back. And if they want to activate Topa to the Major League roster, that's 3 guys that are not currently on the 40-man. After you already have Jake McGee, after you already have John Del Gustavo, who has options remaining, you have to figure out, where will these guys have room? You're going to be trading big leaguers if you're going to be acquiring a big leaguer is what it sounds like. And that's what the vibe has been. And Luis Castillo trade from the other day from the Mariners. That was a haul that they sent to the Reds by all prospect blog sites, Baseball America, Fangraphs. Everyone agrees, man, the Mariners might have overpaid for Luis Castillo. But hey, Brewers are happy he's out of the division. So the price goes up on Tyler Mahle. The price goes up on Frankie Montas. The Brewers are just thinking, don't go to the Cardinals. Don't go to the Cardinals. Don't go to the Cardinals. And Juan Soto, of course, don't go to the Cardinals. That's all they're thinking about. Okay. Fun episode. We're back. Trade deadline show tomorrow starting at 4:30. It will be fun. Let's see if some action happens today or tomorrow. We'll have reaction pods for any trade that the Brewers may make. Make sure you keep it locked on MLB. They will have a trade deadline show as well. They've got all the coverage available there too. And we'll be on YouTube. We'll be on Twitter. It'll be fun. Here we go. Tomorrow is really the official start of the chase. After the trade deadline passes, the chase begins. Brewers get the Pirates tomorrow. We'll preview more of that series tomorrow along with the trade deadline and get you ready for the Buccos. Only 7 more games head-to-head with the Buccos the rest of this season. My name is Dominic Cotroneo. Follow me on Twitter at Dom_Cotroneo. It is in the show notes. And also follow our show account at Locked On Brewers. Got some fun news coming later in the week, but we'll nothing major, but we'll tease that when the time is right. So more on that a little bit later in the week. So keep your ears and eyes peeled for that. We will see you tomorrow right back here for Trade Deadline Special. Until then, keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.